Welcome back, everybody. In Game 1, Immortals came out strong, showing Liquid they have what it takes to recover from their loss against TSM and adjust their game plan. But let's talk about how they might adjust their game plan going into Game 2, seeing as how these teams swap sides. So again, pick ban is definitely something we're going to want to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, and I think it gets a little confusing here for Immortals because I'm with Kobe that I like Team Liquid's draft more than Immortals. Immortals used 2 bans on a jungler, still ended up in an unfavorable jungle matchup, and then also first picked a Azir away and kind of was forced to, but they won because Pobelter was so damn good at Azir in that matchup. So they will, I think, again need to outplay because as they swap to red side, I feel like a draft strategy like that becomes even more suboptimal.
Freak, it does give Pobelter the counter pick option, though.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Now, keep in mind, both these teams picked to be blue side when they were given the option to, so both these teams would rather first pick than get counter pick.
Okay.
It is worth pointing out, though, Pobelter did so well. All the stuff we saw on screen was Phoenix trying to bully him out, and we saw double Doran's ring start for the LeBlanc trying to bully, and Pobelter kept up in CS in a counter matchup in when he's supposed to get bullied in against an early game build. So I can't give him more than enough credit for this because it's honestly odds stacked against him, and massive props to him for that performance.
Right, so he absolutely enabled the team there in their drafting.
Yeah.
Now let's look at players, though, on the flip side then. Kobe, talk to me about Team Liquid. Which are the players that are going to step up in order to help them come away with the victory?
Well, I mean, first of all, if we're giving out the gold stars and smiley face stickers, I think Matt on Team Liquid also deserves one because his Bard play was so good for Team Liquid. But as far as players that need to step up, maybe it is a little bit of jitters from the rest of the rookies. Jat, you're talking about, playing in the LCS is one thing. This is a huge crowd here.
It's an order of magnitude differently. It's almost the same, I feel like, as the jump of playing at home to playing on the LCS stage. It's playing on the LCS stage to playing in a venue like this. And if you look at the Immortals team, even though this is their first split together, every single one of those players has played in a venue as big or bigger than this in the past. So they were more apt to adapt within the game after bad things had happened because that is really hard with all the pressure that's on you in a game, in a venue like this.
All right, so then Freak, that means you turn to the one guy on Team Liquid who has played on the biggest stages out there, Piglet.
It's definitely Piglet. And honestly, when you put that comp together, he was supposed to be the hard carry. Hurricane, Caitlyn, get an Infinity Edge, you can practically 1v5 on Caitlyn when you're as good as Piglet is. That is an absolute possibility for him, and he didn't have that level of performance. That was not Piglet. That was, you're good at League of Legends, Piglet, but this guy could be one of the very best players in the world, period, and that wasn't the performance we got.
He got hit by a max range cocoon when we had vision of the Elise.
Exactly.
I have not seen that happen to Piglet all year.
All right, so definite mistakes coming out of Team Liquid this time around, but they've had some time to regroup and prep for Game 2. The players are all set for that game, and as we head to the casters, let's hear Rainover's thoughts on facing Team Liquid.
I think in regular season, we kind of had really easy game against them. Both Team Liquid game was felt really easy for me, more than any other team. So I think if we just fix our problems right now, I think pretty sure we're gonna win.
All right then.
I love it.
All right then.
Words.
Definitely some fighting words. I mean, we hear some from Dardoch, but one of the easiest teams we faced? Okay.
It's the easiest team, Rip.
So we'll see if what Rainover has to say actually comes out again in the second game, playing very strong and confident in the first one. Like the analyst desk was saying, there was a lot that was being pushed onto Immortals in the early game. We saw Pobelter getting hit. There was a little bit of aggression from Dardoch. Matt was always in the jungle, but Immortals seemed to just surpass all of that aggression and come out with their own game still.
Yeah, I think that Immortals, they were able to actually throw them a little bit off guard when they actually first picked that Azir, and now we're in pick and ban. And look at that, already a change up here. The Azir banned by Immortals, so probably ban Azir, Italy, and then also Kindred, I would assume. But the Rek'Sai ban here against Rainover, he didn't pick it last game, so they're still respecting that. This leaves Ryze on the table, actually.
Yeah, I mean, John is going to be open here as well unless Matt decides to take it away. That is a pick that is pretty highly contested because Matt has actually done fantastically on Janna this season.
So right now, do you pick Echo? Do you pick Ryze? One of these you have to give Immortals.
I like Echo. I think that Echo is just something that it's the biggest playmaker that you can have in the top lane right now that fits the meta, and I just don't think that's something that you want in the hands of Huni. If you give him an advantageous matchup, Jat and Kobe and the guys on the desk were talking about how Huni fell behind early, but he still ended up 50 CS up. He was up 3 or 4 levels, right? He was very far ahead, and if you give him the advantageous matchup, I think it's pretty scary.
He gets Poppy! Huni Huni gets to pick Poppy. I went through his solo queue and I was like, why is this guy not playing this champion? But here's the thing. It may not be him getting Poppy. They picked it in this order with Huni taking Poppy as his selection and Rainover taking Graves.
Right. So
they have swapped it. This is a flex pick in the jungle. Rainover has played Poppy jungle before, but I do assume that it is Huni playing Poppy. I think that he will play it into this matchup. I think that he'll be able to actually bully. And he's got such a high win rate on it in solo queue. I had no clue why he was playing it. But you know, once again, it could be the Graves. It could be them putting Huni back on this champion because Huni is so successful with DPS top laners.
Yeah.
He does like 200 more damage per minute than the next top laner, 150% of their damage.
I really don't see it though with just how good Poppy is in top lane right now. And I mean, Poppy jungle is not something that you really see very often at all anymore. And I think for a good reason. I just think that both the champions are more powerful in their respective roles with Poppy in top lane and Graves in the jungle. So definitely, you know, they don't need the Echo, obviously. You know, Huni's happy to play Gragas top lane. He's obviously happy to play Poppy top lane as well. So, yep, we'll see.
Yeah, I want to see because Huni played the Gragas. It was a little bit different style where he's peeling, but he was actually engaging. So that's what I want to see here from Huni if he plays this Poppy. Is he going to be aggressive with his heroic charges? How is he going to be using the W?
Will the Vayne get locked in, though? And I mean, we talked about, you know, the champions that can kind of do that 1v5 as far as builds.
Yeah.
Well, that is one with Vayne, but he is hovering off of it, so may just be getting an Ezreal.
Okay, okay. So I definitely see the Maokai here. It's the point and click. Even though Echo is up, it's something that TSM actually talked about. Hanser said we wanted the point and click route from Maokai. The CC was way more important to us. How else do you destroy a Kalista? Point and click on her, you get the CC down. Echo, a little bit easier to peel with the composition that Immortals had already anyway.
So this time around, Shu is on the other foot, and it's going to be Pobelter who actually has the counter pick here. And this is something that we have been seeing quite a bit, Cassiopeia as the counter to Rise. And this is something that, you know, FLICKR played, and we've seen it in Korea. We've seen it quite a bit since that did first come out. It is definitely very, very strong, and it's looking like he's going to go with Exhaust as well, which I think is just going to make that even better.
I actually want to see if he swaps that over to Cleanse or something along those lines. But this means that because,
like you said, look at the top and jungle. They haven't swapped.
Yeah, they might swap it. They might swap it 20 seconds. That's the thing. They go back and forth here. Immortals have actually been flexing things at 20 seconds. We saw it when they had the Lucian top to try and throw them off. But also in this mid lane, that means that Pobelter doesn't get to take TP against double TP from TL. They lost to double TP with a Rise. We'll see what happens. And there goes the Poppy top for Huni.
Yeah, so as expected, Poppy going to be in that top lane, and Rainover will be on the Graves, and this is his chance to kind of, you know, put his money where his mouth is. You know, Dardoch is saying this guy can't play carry junglers, and Graves is a true carry jungler.
And that's the thing is, when I look at their solo queue, Huni plays tanks all the time. Rainover has a very low Kindred win rate, and his prevalence of how much he plays Graves is incredibly low. So I don't know if Huni is actually just playing the tank because Rainover, or playing the damage dealer because Rainover can't, but now Rainover is playing that Graves. I want to see what he does in the jungle. I want to see if he has the same type of impact, and if he invades on the Gragas.
They have great synergy jungle top. Maybe they could just talk and switch those strats. You guys have seen, or had a chance to see what the teams are going to put into action, and don't forget to update your predictions. Tweet at LOL Esports and hashtag IMT win or hashtag TL win to let us know your favorite, and keep updating those votes as we go. They do change throughout the games. We don't just take it and then it's up. It will change on that board. We are going to be getting into the second matchup. Immortals coming out very strong in game one. In this third place match, it is a best of 5. We're only getting into game 2, and Team Liquid still has a lot of room to work with here. We're getting onto the Rift. Much different compositions from both sides. Let's see how this plays out.
And Immortals are showing that they did not let this 1 week, even though there's even travel day in there, stop them from prepping, stop them from changing their strategy up, adapting a little bit to the meta, because the meta has heavily favored Team Liquid coming into this matchup. But Immortals are throwing a curveball here saying, you haven't seen us in 7 days. You don't know what we're capable of.
The mid lane matchup is going to be pretty interesting. It's two very heavily scaling champions, 2 tier champions, and TL is going to be kind of heavily weighed towards that late game, as they also have a a tier buying ADC. So they're going to need some time to scale up. They do have a pretty explosive early jungler, but it can be tough when we have a team like Immortals that likes to group, that likes to try to push those objectives and take advantage of those weaknesses in their builds.
We actually just saw this coming out of Fnatic versus H2K in Europe, and we saw that the Cassiopeia had trouble getting onto that Rise sometimes. It was just an easy turn for him in the initiation to turn around for what Team Liquid could bring. It may be that aggression you're talking about that could hurt Immortals if they can't get in. Dardoch on the Gragas, going to hang out with Lorlo here as they started off, and a bit of a late invade by both sides.
Exactly, but this means that TL get to push Reignover and Huni off of those camps. Now they're going to try to be sneaky and get the Raptors here, but on the other side, TL have actually already picked up most of the Raptors, and the camp is gone already.
And it's a little loop-de-loop, wrap back around. Going to be able to grab away the Raptors.
Forces the smite, though. That's the thing. He forced a kind of inefficient smite there. And Dardoch already got level 2, so this clear just becomes even faster. So TL, they're well on their way to actually supporting Dardoch here.
Once again, though, TL won't be having that 2v2, and I think that they're going to be fine with that as far as this matchup goes. John Eclipse is something that's very strong, and you see the strong early trading there from Pobelter onto Phoenix. Yes, Cassiopeia is a hyperscaling late game champion, but if she can dump your mana pool into you after she hits a Q, the damage early can actually be insane.
And I do want to touch a little bit on Pobelter here, because Pobelter, out of all the members on Immortals before they came into playoffs, he was actually under a lot of criticism. I mean, you even look at the all North American team that people had selected. It was all of Immortals minus Pobelter, right? This guy has been considered the mid laner who's just kind of there.
Right. He brings he like a lot of utility, that Lulu, the Lux play,
but the
something
thing is,
that can offer something.
He's way more versatile than that.
Exactly.
Pobelter has so many different faces to him that he can put on, okay, I'm playing like a support today. Here's my support hat. I can play a carry. I can scale up.
Yeah.
I can be aggressive, right? I think that Pobelter actually deserves a little bit more credit here, especially on this Immortals squad. I think he's fulfilling the role that he is given by his team.
And he's always one of the guys that can flex into a champion you haven't seen him play in a while. He has a Syndra coming in through the middle of the spring split on the back half. Other champions like that. And he's just
a Zed player as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not that star, but you already have star carry power on this team.
Yeah.
And you don't want to overflow with that. You need some team players, and I think that's what Pobelter has been doing for the squad all season long. And he's showing that he can apply pressure when it's necessary, that he can have these counter picks. Because his champion pool, I remember like 8 games in of the season, we were saying, oh, he's played 8 different champions.
Right.
He's played so many different things. And the fact that they kept picking Lux over and over again was not because he didn't have a good champion pool. It's because they kept winning with it.
Yeah.
Right? Lux was good. They couldn't figure out what really countered it, like Talon or something like that. But look at this. Oh, missed Q.
Those are both
Reignover's here, though.
Both summoners from Matt. That should be the focus. He's an easy walk-in for the kill. Huni could turn around, help solidify this, but he almost gets one of his own on the TP over onto Phoenix if Dardoch didn't help.
On his first Graves game of the season, Reignover picks up first blood onto Matt, and he's there at the right time. And that's actually from the side of TL's jungle. So Reignover kind of comes out of the works, and they weren't expecting him from that angle.
There's good pressure. Very hard commitment from Matt, though. They thought they might have had it right off the bat. Phoenix could have exploded him, and they wasted so much.
Yeah, they missed Q.
That shows the confidence they're trying to work with here. They're going in on all the calls, and it may not even stop them from doing it on the next. Sometimes that's how you get right back in it.
I mean, it was a really nice sidestep to give credit to Pobelter.
Absolutely.
That did give him the extra time to have his team collapse there. And this has been what has been winning the game for Immortals, right? They're faster on the collapse. They're always there. Every time TL starts something, it's Immortals that reacts faster. It's Immortals that has extra man. And this is the mark of an excellent macro team. It's the team that is always in the right place at the right time.
So speaking of the macro game, Phoenix had to use his TP to get back to mid lane. TL, they have a TP advantage with Lorlo. Dardoch is already playing to this side. Immortals know what he wants to do, because if they place a ward down here, Lorlo will be there with a TP. He has the root. It'll be a 3-on-4, and they could win it. But we'll have to see how the execution is. Matt doesn't have summoner spells. It'll be really tricky.
And with that turret involved, you know, it's kind of an extra half player, an extra full player. So with the 3 players there under the turret, I don't think it's something that TL wants to risk, because if that goes bad at this stage in the game, like, oof.
And Graves is actually a very kind of different champion to have in the jungle. Him and Kindred both. You can kind of show up to a lane and just farm it with the AD carry, and it really stops all other attempts. It's just like if you show up on a lane and you push it down, you have 2 AD carries sieging a turret. You have so much damage being dealt to it, and the repercussions of doing that are pretty much 0.
Yeah, and I mean they're also 2 carry junglers, so you don't mind getting a lot of farm on them. Yeah. It's actually fine for them to attack some of the lane and pick up some of that farm. So, yep.
Coming in at 6 minutes 45 to 38 here in this mid lane. Pobelter's been able to keep Phoenix pushed up, even with the aggression he has found on Matt. A 5-4 here in the top lane as Huni finds a bit of an advantage, and also a push here from Turtle and Adrian. So they're going to be going hard on the top turret as a mid lane gets a little bit of luck.
Dardoch,
he goes back in as soon as Rainover reloads. That timing he saw to keep himself alive. And now they're going to try to take on Rainover. What a play. Do they also have the Monster's bite? Oh no, they give it back to Rainover.
Oh no, that was such a good play that went so wrong for TL. I mean, Phoenix flashed forward. Yeah, sure, he got the root, but he zoomed. And then Matt's trying to follow up on that. They die to the turret, and a crazy series of events. We'll have to see if we have the replay, but Pobelter had a beautiful ult, and I mean, Dardoch was able to just barely get in, help secure that kill and get out, and it would have been so good for TL if it did end there. But here you can see Phoenix going forward, and look at this ultimate from Pobelter when Dardoch goes back in for the re-engage perfectly.
Ooh. It didn't hit Phoenix, but it did hit Dardoch. He was predicting the body slam to come through, and that's 100% there. If he's actually body slamming, you know that he's going to be facing you. So. See there, Dardoch hits level 6 off of that creep, so he's ready to actually throw an ultimate out or get a flash here from Wild Turtle.
Flash.
Oh, nicely played by Dardoch. Knowing that Turtle was going to flash it, he actually doesn't use the ult. The animation from Gragas is enough to make Turtle flash because he knows if he waits, he's going to be too late. And if you get knocked in, that flash doesn't matter, you're dead. So really, really nice little subtle play there from Dardoch that will allow him to come back, possibly look for a return gank on a flashless AD carry.
That's crazy. They're so accelerated. Dardoch is 6. Yeah, Rainover is, but Piglet is 6. Wild Turtle's 4. The pressure that Team Liquid has right now.
Rainover over the wall, though, so Piglet being 6, I don't know how much it's going to matter here.
Yeah, they have pressure in levels, but if they aren't organized on the map, you lose it all. That's a kill going on to Matt, and now they have Piglet hanging out to dry. He flashes in to try and get the kill over on Huni, but the shield comes through.
Piglet flash shield for that. That is pretty surprising.
But what was Lorlo doing? Lorlo had TP that entire time, and he was top. Wild Turtle was top as well. Lorlo did not answer.
I think they just didn't think they could win the fight. I mean,
Lorlo's backing.
This is a Piglet, though, who just has tier. He has, he has his cull. He hasn't really bought any damage yet, so it's a full mana Pobelter. Rainover coming in. I think that they just make the call. This is a done fight. But with that call, Piglet really should not be blowing his flash and his heal. It was super, super close. He's just able to pick up the passive, which saved him. So I get that, but at the same time, when you do make that call, I think you kind of stick to it, because if Lorlo's not coming in, you should save the summoners for the next fight. This is going to be a loss either way.
Yeah, that seemed like a miscommunication there, because it took them a second to actually throw down a pink ward. I think they were saying, do you have a ward? Who has a ward to throw down? Then it's like, okay, well, I guess I throw down my pink ward in the middle of the lane, and then he didn't TP to it. He was already backing. And then they just got picked up from there because Matt was already chunked out. So
still, though, even with that, Piglet has a pretty huge advantage over Turtle. He's still up 15 CS. He was up a level, and I mean, it was really ugly before that, though. It was like 60 to 30 CS, and across the board, I mean, look at Lorlo in the top lane. He's doing great, farming it out against Huni. So, although Immortals does have the kills, as far as farm-wise, TL staying relevant.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at Dardoch here too, and Gragas we don't normally see challenging smite from Gragas. We normally see the vision supportive type style with the tracker's knife, and this is just Dardoch. This is Dardoch, and I'm actually going to watch because I've seen him go distortion very early on both Lee Sin and Gragas. Pretty much as soon as he completes boots, it's this build right into distortion. So I'll be tracking that, and he usually gets it before 20-25 minutes in pretty much every single game.
And what can we focus as kind of his priority target if he's the first one in? Who is he smiting? Who is he trying to toe-to-toe?
Wild Turtle or Pobelter. I think Pobelter's the one that if you can get.
Yeah, I mean, Pobelter is kind of the juicy target because he has such low mobility. If you can actually get a guaranteed ult, knock him into the team, he's going to get deleted, especially early on before he has the robe, before he gets stacking HP and so on. Turtle is going to be a great target as well. I mean, if you can get a body slam flash, but Phoenix is in trouble.
Look how this was set up. Phoenix was already hugging the left side. Dardoch is going to be able to solidify a kill with turret damage. Almost gets himself two, but he was frozen in place before Pobelter went down.
Really nice job there by Dardoch, getting the return kill, able to react, not quite in time to keep Phoenix alive. And I mean, had Phoenix lived, that would have been huge for TL, but you know, as we were saying, if Dardoch can ult someone into Phoenix, all wild carry in, yeah, you definitely can take him out.
If that barrel was just a little bit different, it would have been a double kill too. You see here just immediately onto Phoenix, they have nothing left. Boom, Huni hits the wall. If it had actually been angled a little bit different, then it would have been Huni being picked up as well as Pobelter there. And a little desperate there as well from Rainover. That Q, it's very hard to actually have somebody hit both charges of it if it isn't against a wall. So throwing out everything, basically saying, well, I'll at least try.
Yep, so we do have the Abyssal completed up here for Pobelter. Not going to elect to go for Aurora after all. And, you know, he does have that tier stacking quite nicely. He has, you know, another null Magic Mantle on top of that. So he's built very heavily once again to kind of survive laning phase. It's kind of similar to what he did on Azir. He has so much MR against Phoenix that even if Phoenix gets up on top of him, it's going to be very dangerous for him.
They know Pobelter doesn't have any summoner spells, and look at this, Lorlo comes in.
Vengeful Maelstrom right on before they go into the turret. He's gonna have to fight this one out. You bring it to the Snake's Den, you gotta fight for it. They get Pobelter to go down, and he's not having fun now. He is a focus, actually, this game. 2-3-2.
Yeah.
Everybody else hasn't even really been touched.
All his team's deaths, actually, but still. I mean, he's keeping up in farm, and he also has 2 kills and 2 assists. So, you know, he's scaling pretty well, even though he is getting picked on a fair bit. You know, it is kind of the easy target to pick on when you do have all this lockdown, all this initiation, and Cass is a low mobility champion. But picking up the Merc Treads, once again, it's really smart.
Yeah, just as I start talking about Pobelter being a team player, it's a caster curse once again. But Immortals are going to have their eyes set on this dragon, picking up their first one of the game here, and the first one of the game for everybody.
Yep.
Does that mean we have to talk about Phoenix to even things out now?
Yeah. Phoenix is actually just, I mean, he's always been the farming mid laner for this entire season. It's been the 4-man unit. But now that everything is actually centralized around Phoenix, Phoenix had the lowest kill participation on his team. He was one of the lowest kill participation mid laners in the entire league, especially pre-15 minutes. They did nothing with Phoenix during the regular season, and now they're playing through mid lane because they trust this matchup. They trust that, oh, he has so much gank assistance. Well, Cassiopeia versus Ryze was a matchup that, you know, Cassiopeia was always very favored in before.
Right.
So tilting that matchup and making sure that Phoenix has an okay time in it is a good game plan from TL.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that as far as Immortals go, though, you know, having the double exhaust, having, you know, a fair bit of CC and lockdown themselves for Ryze, who has to get up close and personal, even scaling into the late game, he's still a squishy champion. You get in there, he pops his ultimate, he gets exhausted. You have the knockups from Adrian, from Wild Turtle's ultimate. You have a stun from Cass. You have Huni can knock him up. There's a lot of disruption and a lot of damage that can be thrown on that Ryze. So once again, it's going to be tough for Phoenix, but he's having a much better game for himself. He has to have a bigger impact like this, and, you know, TL's keeping it close.
And here comes the TP. Double TP was a thing that they brought.
I was gonna say, I wonder when those TPs are gonna be put to use.
Oh,
here,
what an ultimate from Huni.
it's Immortals that triggers the TP use. Huni keeps them safe and sound, but they are gonna have to back up with a few of the resources. This means Liquid actually has a good push on the bot lane. That will call a TP in, or a back rather, from Huni. He's not going to TP over. They'll have enough time to save it with Wild Turtle.
They're getting cut off right now by Pobelter.
And here's the
There's a
TP. Oh, but they're going to turn onto Turtle. Turtle's too far up, and they're going to TP behind him.
It's 14 minutes, so no home guards off of these TPs. It's going to be a slow walk, and Turtle's way too far away from home for that.
How is TL going to get out of this, though? It's going to be awkward. Nice body slam.
Oh, Piglet. He could get out of this one. He actually puts himself on the top side of the fight. Now it's all faced into the lane. Dardoch goes down. Matt gets there just a second too late to the party. Piglet's trying to chase and help his team now. Phoenix starting to come around the corner, but is it too late? Lorlo fending off 4 members right now as Immortals look to chop down the tree. He's only going to do a little bit more. Maybe get Belzer, but they are able to pick it up.
So huge for Immortals. Really nice turnaround from TL onto Turtle, which was great start to the fight, but they couldn't stay together, and Piglet's in trouble.
He's been in trouble this entire time. How did he get out? He went up the top of the fight, and then everybody just said, "Oh no, let's not follow him anymore." And then Huni was able to come back into that fight because he had ditched that target earlier.
I mean, you know, Pig was able to get out, but with him gone, his team didn't have the damage to continue in that fight, and it was a very kind of awkward scenario. You know, they collapsed onto Piglet, but it was still this little squad of 3 guys, and here comes that TP from Lorlo. Really nice ult from Dardoch. They're able to cleanly take out Turtle, but you can see there's some moment of hesitation. TL's like, what do we do? Where do we go? There's 4 members of Immortals collapsing, and look at Phoenix. He's still so far away. Matt is still so far away.
Yeah.
And Piglet actually going over to the left They split up the fight, and it zones him out. Had he stayed with his tank line, kited down, I think that would have been the correct choice. Because if they were running down to Matt, if Matt could have gotten involved, if Phoenix could have gotten involved, this is a fight that TL could have won.
Yeah. Also, if you went down, it's a 2-on-3. You force Rainover to come over the wall. You're away from, I believe, where the exhaust was.
Yeah.
So,
but they just, you know, it's a hard position to be in.
Yeah.
They didn't know exactly where everyone was going to be coming from, and they had a short amount of time to react. And sometimes in those situations, you know, you just don't make the correct choice.
Immortals very fluid when they react as well. They've actually been in the lead most of the time, but when they are put in a situation to react, they usually make the right decision. They're teleporting back on the teleports just used from Liquid and able to come out strong. Immortals now pushing down on the mid lane, 8-4, looking at a 2,000 gold lead here, 17 minutes in.
and Immortals, despite not having the teleport advantage with the double TP, we see early distortion boots here from Huni. So he's looking to make plays. He hasn't even just completed a single item except for that. Everything is just components right now.
Trying to cast on Rainover, just losing vision.
Oh.
See where we go from here.
Is having a great game for himself. 4-0-3 on that carry Graves. Looking really strong so far. Once again involved in almost every single kill. He's been huge for his team. You know, Dardoch said, if Rainover isn't getting involved, if Rainover isn't getting his team ahead, they don't look good. But guess what? 2 games in a row, Rainover's coming up huge for Immortals.
Well, Rainover's fed right now. He's 4-0-3. He has the most kills on the team, and he actually has about 2,000 gold over his opponent. So he's actually kind of rolling in money right now in comparison to Dardoch.
Talked about that Graves. We always knew Rainover had kind of good knowledge of the game as a tank, but put him on a more aggressive champion, it seems like he can still run the show. 4-0-3 right now on that.
Oh.
It looks like Team Liquid's trying to make something happen here in the mid lane. Immortals, however, they have that cast. Makes it very hard to walk up to the turret because they can engage themselves. Immortals going very, very hard for a quick kill there, but they do not find it on Phoenix.
Back and forth from these squads using summoner spells to try and engage, and then the counter engage comes out. It's just everybody's trying to at least get the hook so they can pull in the missing line.
Rainover gonna pick up another one, is unstoppable now with his 5th kill, and Immortals looking for more.
Was that just a lack of respect to that? I was looking down at the stats for a second. Rainover still putting pressure on, not afraid to tank the turret, and they're just standing toe-to-toe without even a minion wave right now.
Yeah, I think Phoenix was just trying to clean up that camp. He wanted to get an extra jungle camp before he based, and he got caught out by Rainover. But TL, you know, on that initiation in mid lane, you know, looking very, very aggressive. Once that cask from Dardoch didn't actually knock Pobelter away from the turret, I think they should have just said, "Oh, that's it, back off." But once again, kind of like overstaying, really trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
They feel the pressure. You can tell they're really feeling like, we need to make something happen. We're losing. Let's do something. And when you do that and you try to push it too hard, a team like Immortals is going to react and they're going to punish.
Oh, backing in a bad spot. There was a ward in the Raptor pit, so Rainover knew where Phoenix was trying to back. Greedy back there.
Very unfortunate. So, 2-2-1 for that mid lane. Still keeping up in CS, as we said, so he can still be pretty big in that power area when they need him. That Maokai can still obviously be tanky regardless of how the lanes went, but right now, Immortals still in control. Momentum coming in from game 1 right through to game 2. And it does not look like they're going to be stopping, especially Rainover, especially Huni, getting even bigger on this Poppy.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't even have to be Wild Turtle this game, right? It's kind of switching up how that star power works from game to game.
Yeah, I mean, Wild Turtle, you know, he's done fine this game. He's farming up. You know, he is scaling. He's going to be useful in team fights. But like you said, there's not always the onus on a great team like this to carry. You don't have to be the one that does it every single game. This time it's Rainover. Last time, you know, it was Wild Turtle coming up big. And that's a great feeling, knowing that you have the confidence in your teammates. You can say, okay, I don't have to force anything. My teammates got this.
Good reassurance.
And TL are showing that right now because it's a 1-3-1 right now. So they're trusting that the TPs will be on point, that they can siege this mid lane and actually spread Immortals thin. See what happens here, because Immortals are actually answering 1-3-1 with having a Wild Turtle up there. They still have the wave clearance. It's actually quite hard to get damage onto this turret with the Cassiopeia.
This is where he says, I wish I was Piglet. Or, I wish I was Caitlyn.
I hope he's not saying that.
I wish I were
was
Piglet. I mean, Freak was talking about it on the desk. I mean, is he good at League of Legends Piglet, or is he World Champion Piglet?
We'll see. We'll see if he's Piglet.
Pretty sure he is.
20 minutes on the clock. That means home guard starts. Teleport plays could be a little stronger now coming from the side of Team Liquid if they choose to do so, but we're still looking for
Phoenix
this
on the side.
outer ring of turrets to get dropped. Glacial Fisher and True Shot Barrage cross over each other, and a very deleted Matt goes down. That's going to be Dardoch that follows. They thought they had the upper hand here, but are turned around and flipped upside down in their own head.
Piglet got it!
Piglet's going to go down to Howling Gale into one windy attack. It blows him right over, and that's going to be Lorlo getting himself out alive. Deja vu for him.
Matt is just going to hit the field goal ultimate right between two players. Gets instantly deleted. And then it was the Poppy E from Huni that actually was massive in that fight. He actually knocked Dardoch back out of his body slam, I believe, and got that stun. And that fight, once again, TL trying to pull the trigger, but Immortals is there faster. Immortals reacts better. Lorlo strolling into the fight, you know, hopelessly late.
To the wall.
And it was just already over.
That's the thing. There were no wards down for Lorlo to TP to. No wards in inventory except Phoenix's pink. You need to throw that down now and say TP to this. Lorlo is kind of walking his way here, and then, yeah, Dardoch gets knocked back. He did make contact with the body slam, but it's the interrupt afterwards that stops him from making the combination happen. And Lorlo walks up with ultimate already on because he knows he doesn't have time, and just trying to protect there. Saves a little bit there on Piglet so they can get the counter kill.
But at that point, it's like his team is already dead. The fight is already lost, and this is the team with the double TP. They're supposed to have the advantage. They're supposed to be the ones making these plays.
Yeah.
You know, Immortals has one TP. They're just always in the right place. They don't even need it. And TL has it, but both the TPs are off cooldown. They didn't use them.
Yeah, Turtle was also late to that fight, so you would have assumed that TL was going to be able to get everybody in the mosh pit much sooner. And if Lorlo had been there and able to lock somebody down, possibly Pobelter, possibly even Rainover, it would have been a much different fight. You can see Rainover 7-0-4.
Yeah.
This is a threat, a carry jungle that you did not expect from this player. And the performance that he's having right now is a little bit uncharacteristic of the Rainover that you know, because you usually talk about his macro game, but now MVP split is carrying.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about rookies, we talked about the nerves, especially on a big stage in a big venue like this, and Matt, you know, he's looking a little bit affected. He's having a bad game this game on the Braum. He's 0-5-1, and Huni gonna get jumped on here in the mid lane.
I also think Lorlo is having the same problem. His TPs have not been on point.
Yeah.
And another thing too, when you actually change to a different venue, more people, there's more noise when a fight is happening. It's a little bit harder to understand your teammates when everybody's just screaming stuff out, trying to be heard over the crowd.
Yep. You feel the vibration of feet stomping and people cheering, the players say. It definitely puts a different emotion into these intense moments. Makes it that much harder.
Yep. You have to resist the tunnel vision too.
Absolutely.
Very difficult.
Yeah, this gold lead is getting pretty out of control at this point.
One of the biggest ones we've seen in this series.
And it shows no signs of stopping. I mean, and it's at this point, when you are playing a melee support like Braum, you have to somewhat get in there, but you're just paper. You're basically just a free kill anytime you do jump in. So anytime he does go for that sort of initiation, he just has to accept he's going to die. And it's a rough spot to be in because, you know, he has a little bit of HP from a Crystalline Bracer and his Sightstone. That's it.
It's a 5-man siege in the bot lane.
There's one lowly ward. It's really far back behind Immortals, though. They're not going to be able to use it. And right now, that top lane kind of needs to be pushed out. So TL's just going to kind of play yo-yo here, push Immortals back, maybe push the pressure back for them.
I think that's even a blue ward, too, so you can't TP to
Oh, that's
those.
true. That's a good call. It is a different icon, so it's not even something they would be able to use for the play. A minute onto Dragon, some vision being set up for that one. And Phoenix is going to set himself up with a blue buff and hopefully be a big source of damage for this next fight.
And this is kind of what TL could possibly hope for in the best case scenario after what happened in the previous fight. They got Baron, they got a couple turrets off of it, but 4,000 gold Baron power play. It's not like they ended the game off of it, but it is still a gigantic lead, 8,000 gold here. And you see Piglet has the QSS now, and he's had these two items for a very long time.
Ooh,
ready
Death's Dance just finished up on Rainover as well.
Oh, as a Jungle Graves, you go Death's Dance if you are very far ahead. A lot of times you'll see Sterix.
Like 7-0-4 ahead?
Yeah, kind of like that. You'll see the Sterix, you'll see the Maw come out, but if you buy Death's Dance, it means you are ready to close this game out. You're ready to actually crush.
We'll see if they can do it. It's 25 minutes in, really on par with how fast they were going last time. It was just, at this point, a few fights that got them to the inhibitor, and then really one after that that brought them to the Nexus. So Immortals is really keeping on pace with game number 1 here of the 3rd place match.
Yep. And Huni is up in the top lane. He's basing, getting ready to TP in case his team needs him because TL wants to make something happen. This is the third dragon. They don't want to give it. Oh, nice steal.
Spiked out by Dardoch. He's waiting for that body slam to get back over the wall. Nice push out on Pole Belter, but the team knows collectively.
Oh, they stopped him.
This is not a fight. Glacial Fisher over to a three-man ultimate, and they're going to start getting the clean up. Piglet goes down. We just said it was one fight to take the inhibitor, then another one to follow up on the Nexus. Is it all patched up in one? Is this the kid in Caboodle for Immortals? On for Huni. He's in a 2v1. Steadfast presence is down, and there is going to be enough time for Rainover to come over. These guys are just holding hands, taking a nice walk on the beach, and they're ready to bring even more cavalry to the show. On to Matt, and it's going to keep going.
And after their performance in the semifinals, Immortals are silencing the haters. Huni on a tank performing immaculately, and Rainover with the cleanup, with the damage-dealing Graves in the jungle. Immortals look like they have adapted to this meta.
That is an understatement. Performing, I mean, that three-man ultimate flash into the.
I said immaculate.
That was just godlike. Huni is going off this game. Rainover is going off. This is the dynamic duo that everyone expected.
Whoa!
Here comes Lorlo.
Going for broke, a nice push back. That was the Monsoon. Janna ultimate's out. This is going to be Huni giving himself up for the team, and Dardoch may not have the chase. The Baron's up in a minute and a half, so they can't even keep pressure to stop Immortals from backing now.
Yeah, good call there by Huni. Knows someone's going to die.
Right.
He's low HP. He's the tank. He can take the hit for the team. He doesn't have a lot of wave clear. Keeps the 4 members on his team alive. They know there's no neutral objectives up, so they just have to clear the turrets, and that's fine. They don't have to worry too much.
Dardoch, he does have body slam. He does have flash. He does have the cask.
I think Immortals could just give this. They don't need to contest that turret. They can honestly give the next turret as well. Just wait for Huni. There's no reason to risk it at this point. They're enough ahead that they don't need to. But here goes Dardoch.
Pole Belter.
Oh, they
What
want
an ultimate from Cass!
Pole Belter going in. It's going to happen. That's going to be Turtle on the outside. He rents out too. Turtle going for a triple. That's going to be the Quadra, and it's going to be Lorlo going down. Turtle comes up huge.
And Pole Belter, what an ultimate. He got the 4-man Cassiopeia ultimate. He says, I'm going to die, but I'm taking you with me. The Pole Belter just came up massive, and Wild Turtle makes him pay. That is going to be game number 2.
28 minutes, keeping it on pace. As I said before, they're right onto the Nexus turrets. 2 games in now, Immortals has not shown any stopping in their aggression from early sections of the game onto mid or even late. If we make it to the late game on this series, that's going to be the second Nexus turret going down. Matt doing his damnedest to be unbreakable for the team. The rest of Liquid spawns pouring out their last efforts in game number 2, and Immortals will take down Liquid to make it 2-0.
And Immortals are showing so many new things that they are performing incredibly well on. 2-1-10 for Huni, the incredible knockup with a Poppy ultimate, and 8-0-10 for the regular season MVP Rainover on Graves.
Yeah, how's that for a scoreline? 8-0-10, perfect KDA. He was involved in everything. He's always in the right place. He's always there at the right time, supporting his teammates, putting out the damage, immaculate positioning, great macro play, securing the objectives for his team. Really hard to fault Rainover for anything that game. And you can see this is the team that went 17-1 in the regular season. This is not the team that got blanked by TSM.
And Immortals are up 2-0, and this has to be bittersweet for them. They have to be focusing on this going, great, we adapted. We showed that we can play these things at an enormous level and that they're able to perform, but they have to be thinking, they went 17-1 in the regular split. They were capable of doing this all along, and they are probably beating themselves up a little.
Yeah.
Why aren't they in the finals? Why didn't they do this
2-0 on Sunday?
Why didn't they actually bring these picks out and have them ready at the right time?
It's something they can always dwell on, but right now it's going to have to be looking forward to this. They said they're obviously more than happy to continue to play for the third place match, as anyone would be, having such a great season, still being able to get on that podium. But this is definitely a team we are going to see next year, again, fight for the top spot. There's no doubt about that. Their loss was an any given Sunday type of situation, and that could happen to anybody here again this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, championship points are extremely important. It's all about Worlds. They have to look long-term. This is a team that had aspirations past, just doing well in the North American LCS. They want to go to Worlds. Huni has talked about he wants to be known as the best player in the world. That's something he said last year. He wants to be the best player in the world this year, and he's looking to prove that. He came up big for his team. We'll see if they can push towards that.
Amazing Poppy ultimate.
Yep.
All right, there's game 2 for Immortals, and now to break down that game, let's check in with Dash and our analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. 2-0 start for Immortals, and this is a lot more reminiscent of the Immortals that we had come to know and love through the regular season. I mean, as Irene said, there might be a small element of why didn't we do this last week. Riv, though, correctly saying the focus has to be here and now.
Yeah.
But Jat, for Immortals, talk to me about, where the strengths of this team lie and how we're seeing them come to fruition now.
Yeah, I feel like their strengths right now are they're just playing the map so much better than Team Liquid. We see the scoreline on Reignover and Huni that is very impressive, but if we watch the actual super close mechanics of Reignover on that Graves, he wasn't super polished. He was using his ultimate early a lot of times. He was flashing it in very aggressive places, thinking he'd burst him down and wasn't getting it. But they were so far ahead of the plays all these times, it didn't matter, and he could still crush the game.
Yeah, there was a really good example of what you're talking about, how Immortals, they used their teleport early to protect mid lane, but then they played defensively knowing they were down the teleport summoner spell. They sent they sent Reignover down to protect bottom because they knew there was a possibility of a dive from Team Liquid to get them back in the game, and they defended it perfectly.
Immortals on your screen now, grabbing a little sustenance moving into game 3. They're hoping to keep it a short series. Freak, thoughts on Immortals' performance so far?
Yeah, I think 2 MVPs here are Pobelter in the mid lane and Reignover in the jungle. We're back to MVP Reignover, where the entire reason people thought he was so good was that he was always where he needed to be. He understands coming into the game where the focus is, what's important about this game, what is Dardoch going to do, what is Liquid's motivation here? And it's like, guys, we have a no-cleanse Cassiopeia mid into Ryze. Ryze is a targeted route. Cassiopeia is a mid-range champion with no blinks. Summoner spells are down half the time, and he's setting up a tent there on Graves, making sure I am always there to counter-gank the Gragas, to deal with the Ryze when the gank comes in, and unsurprisingly, 8-0 and 10. And even though you were seeing this Cassiopeia scoreline be like 2-3-2 at some point, he's getting a lot of kills, turning kills around. And again, it's not getting 1 for 0, it's getting 1 for 1 because they know where the focus is.
Yeah, and we saw that evidenced in the very early first blood where Matt aggressively comes into the mid lane, not getting the kill, and Reignover's the first jungler to respond. And this is where I'm coming to you, Kobe. You had high praise for Matt in game 1. What about game 2?
Yeah, I don't know about the gold star here. It definitely depends on the champion, it looks like. Because he is a great bard, and we all know that. But the Braum, he didn't look very comfortable. They came out, it looked like it was very tightly wound. You guys were kind of talking about some of the newer players on this huge stage. Matt was trying to create plays very early on with the bard and burning both summoners, dashing forward in the mid lane there, giving up that first blood. There were a lot of unforced errors. I like the tennis term. Some people say tilting, choking, but unforced errors from Team Liquid in this game that gave the Immortals this early lead that Immortals are so used to having from the regular season that and once they had that early lead, Immortals executed very well. But Team Liquid definitely have a lot to clean up.
They do have a lot to clean up. I think it's decision-making around what Lorlo's doing because he's not TPing into fights. There's when the caster called out. Matt drops a pink ward, and then no one TPs to it. It's like, either pick one. Either don't waste the 75 gold or don't go for it in the first place. Matt's mistakes were all mechanical. Every ult that he missed, if he hits it, that person dies. There's one where Caspia's roaming up from the blue buff over towards mid lane, tags the corner, that guy's dead for a second long knockup. There's a fight in the Raptor pit where he field goals a Braum ulti, and they're like, let's just fight 4v5. Lilith have a TP in. What does battle and a Maokai will walk in? Unsurprisingly, they lose that fight. So it's like, clean up the mechanics and actually figure out what you want to do with Lorlo. Is he fighting or not? Are you going to take a battle or not?
I think a lot of those decisions, though, do come down to the larger team shot calling.
Sure.
And we've heard in the past when Matt is on someone like Bard, or even when he's playing Alistar and has a huge initiation burden, his calls don't necessarily seem that clean. Dardoch's the aggressive one. Matt's the one who has, he has the reason in the calls. And I think it's really important to get him back on a Janna or a range support where he doesn't have the high mechanical complexity of Bard, but he can be that voice of reason for the team. If they can get a Janna on here, I think that's one of their chances to get the macro decision-making back because he's proven he has good shot calling when he's on that champion. It's a bit of a mental jump, but it's shown in the past for Team Liquid.
All right, so comfortability in the shot calling for Liquid may be something that we're looking for. I mean, I think the second question then would be, and Freak, I'm coming to you on this, is the fact that Team Liquid seems to have hit a point in both these games where they become desperate. And both times it didn't necessarily, the gold lead didn't necessarily suggest that they needed to just yet. So then the question is a composition that allows them to be more aggressive early better suited for them in this series? Because as it stands right now, they played very slow through the mid game, and then they get desperate.
It's interesting. I don't think I'd immediately jump to like play an early game comp. I think, as Darryl was mentioning, there are comp things you can do, like pick a more comfortable low mechanic champion for Matt, so that he can focus more about looking at the map and not as his champion what he's doing. I think that actually is an impact here. But in terms of like trying to play an early game sort of set of champions, I don't think that'll work because Raynor will be in the right place.
Right.
Like Raynor will find a way to screw up whatever you're trying to do anyway. Unless you're against someone who's playing at complete peak efficiency like FLICKR was last weekend, I don't think you're going to have that kind of situation happen. I'd actually rather see Liquid just play a full team fight team. Like, just get champions where, like, when you mash heads 5-on-5, you can just execute a team fight. Because that's where they're really losing, is they're just not team fighting properly. And if your comp is built around that, it's easier to get in the right place.
Absolutely. This is coming down to team fighting. And, you know, when we look at Immortals and the people who are stepping up and performing in those team fights, I mean, we already mentioned it slightly, but Pobelter, huge ultimate coming out of him. Wild Turtle coming up with the quadra kill in game 1, itemizing.
Always a quadra kill in the playoffs for Turtles.
It really is. It's never the Penta, but it's going to be the quadra.
I mean, Turtle keeps getting Kalista, and he's extremely comfortable on it. It's a really good champion that might be contested a little bit more since, you know, the duo of Huni as well as Rainover have shown, yes, we're going to venture into this meta territory here now, so it's going to be hard to focus them down in picks and bans.
Yeah, absolutely true. And what's funny about Kalista, actually, the 6.6 changes, they gave her about a 4% DPS increase in team fights if you're buyer support, and like a 10% DPS loss if you're not. So the actual playstyle of Kalista has now actually drastically sort of altered where you lose a lot of power not team fighting in post 6.6 Kalista, and Wild Turtle is. He's not running around split pushing all the time. He's not doing this sort of piglet things where he's like another side lane splitter. He's going for the 5-on-5s, and he's succeeding. She's actually better in that space now.
Right, and you know Adrian will be right next to him.
Oh, of course.
Because he's playing
Shannon. He's playing Shannon sitting next to him.
Only a bit more time for both these teams to adjust going into game 3, but Immortals have taken a 2-game lead in this series. Stay tuned to see if they can earn themselves a 3rd place finish or if Liquid can save their series. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Rhino is so bad at dodging. His physical is bad. I mean, he died from Zyra passive that...
Dardoch, he goes back in as soon as Rainover reloads. Phoenix was already hugging the left side. Dardoch is going to be able to solidify a kill with turret damage.
But he's 4 versus 4.
Yeah, Ryze is not here, Ryze is not here. Fight slowly, okay? I'm gonna go for Janna's side, okay?
I'm knocked up. Ezreal.
That's going to be Dardoch that follows. They thought they had the upper hand here, but are turned around.
Ah, shit. Okay.
I got him.
Go Nash. I think you guys need to do it.
That's going to be Turtle on the outside. He rents out too. Turtle go for a triple. That's going to be the quadra, and it's going to be Lorlo going down in game number 2. And Immortals will take down Liquid to make it 2-0.
This has got to be over. This has got to be over.